Welcome to New Release Review, part of the Movie Friends podcast. My name is Seth. Today we're talking about The Color Purple from 2023, directed by BlakCinephile. We will be discussing spoilers throughout the entire episode, so if you haven't seen The Color Purple, please turn this off, go watch the film, and then come back and listen. My guest for today is Anthony, aka BlakCinephile from the Double Feature Versus podcast. Anthony, how are you?
I'm doing fine this fine morning. It's not such a fine morning with the weather out here, but I'm doing fine this fine morning.
Yeah, we're bracing for a snowstorm today.
Oh, wow. Yeah, us too a little bit.
So, Anthony, I want to ask you before we get into the movie to kind of just explain to people not familiar with your show, kind of what you guys do.
Yeah, so the Double Feature Versus podcast is a podcast I have with my co-host, Brad. We both, I primarily upload reviews to the website 8bitwaffles.com. He's the founder of the website. So on the show, right, we take two movies with a similar theme. So, for example, we would probably do The Color Purple, the 2003 musical film versus Steven Spielberg's film he made in the 80s, right? And then we would talk about both of them, compare, contrast, and see which one wins out. So it's a double feature versus. I know the next one we got coming up is both of the films that deal with the Andes plane crash. The newest film, Society of the Snow, on Society of the Snow on Netflix, and then we have Alive, the older film with Ethan Hawke. So we're going to compare both of those, compare and contrast, see which one's better. And yeah, it's really just us, kind of duking it out in a friendly way, of course, saying like, oh, well, I side with this movie. I side with that movie. Okay, you're dumb, whatever. No, we don't say that, but we keep it pretty fun. We got some jokes involved, and we watch a lot of good, bad movies too. Those are like the fun episodes.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, we're definitely going to be doing some comparing and contrasting between the two versions of The Color Purple today. But kind of just to get the ball rolling, just your general thoughts and like first opinion after seeing this movie.
I ain't going to lie to you. When this was announced, I had a little bit of worriness. I had a little bit of anxiety because I love the original 1985 film. It's literally one of my favorite films.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. And I understood that this film was going to be based off the musical, right? Because Color Purple was turned into a musical. This film is based off that musical. The musical is based off the novel. I'm like, okay, I that's fair. That's fair. So when I went into this, I was a little shaky because I never saw the musical. But I want to say past the opening with, a young Celie, a young Nettie. And, you got Coleman Domingo as Mr., which we'll get into. When it started to settle in and we got to like Fantasia as an adult Celie and we got into like the real narrative of it, I calmed down. I said, okay, this isn't as bad as I thought it would be. Okay.
Yeah.
And as it started going on, I'm like, this is pretty damn good. And I don't like musicals. I like a handful of them, like Hamilton, South Park. Like I like a handful of musicals, but I was settling in. I was tapping my feet to the music. I was like, this is actually pretty good. And by the end of it, I was all smiles.
Nice. Okay, cool. I had a bit of an opposite journey with the movie.
Okay.
When they announced the film, I was excited because while I do like Spielberg's version of it, I was just excited that we would get a take on The Color Purple from a Black director. And so I should probably say, if you listen to the show regularly, you probably know I'm not a big Spielberg guy.
Okay.
And I do think that he did good service to the story. He doesn't do all of his normal Spielberg stuff.
He really doesn't.
Yeah, and like he had the good sense to like kind of get out of his own way in that movie. And so I like it. I think it's good, but I don't know that it's like the definitive version of that story. So when they announced that they were making a new one based on the musical, I was like, yes, it became like a highly anticipated movie for me for last year. And I have not seen the show on Broadway, but I do like musicals, especially like you mentioned South Park. I think that's one of the best movie musicals ever made.
Oh, dude, I love it.
Yeah, it's great. It's good if you like musicals because like all the different songs are kind of different styles of musical numbers. Yeah, like Trey Parker's a big musical head. So
Oh,
anyway,
I can tell.
yeah. So I was excited for this one. And when it started, I said to myself, oh, this is a musical. Like, this is a full on jazz hands, spinning around and going, ha.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. I was gripping my seat. I was like, okay, I hope this is good. I hope this is good.
Yeah. I was a little disappointed. We gave a lot of time to the songs, which is like, of course, but I felt like some of the dramatic moments weren't given enough time to really sit with them. Like when we get to the scene in their house and Sophia is there and she kind of like regains her ability to speak.
Right.
I was like, wow, we're already to this part? Oh my gosh.
It goes by fast. It does.
Yeah. Yeah. So we already mentioned Coleman Domingo as Mr. I wanted to ask you, how do you feel about Fantasia as Celie?
Oh, I thought Fantasia did a great job. She had the best micro expressions of like shyness and like kind of trying to gain her voice. And then it's a natural progression, right? So like, I remember one thing, and I'm not comparing her performance to this person, but I'm making note of like, kind of like good acting, right? Bryan Cranston, when he was on Breaking Bad, every season he would kind of check in with Vince Gilligan, like, okay, am I at is Walter White at like gangster status yet? What status am I at yet? You know what I mean? And Vince Gilligan would kind of tell him like, okay, so far you're right here. So Bryan Cranston had to learn how to fine tune where Walter White was. Like, am I still the chemistry teacher? Am I now the gangster? What's going on? So I think Fantasia, throughout the course of the film, she fine tunes her performance from like shy Celie to identity found Celie at the end and happy Celie. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, so I like how she changes her performance throughout the movie. It's not a one note performance to me.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think she was probably my favorite part of this. I was pretty surprised. I mean, I'm not really familiar with Fantasia beyond, I know that she was on American Idol,
Yeah, I'm familiar with her music for sure. And I know she had the Lifetime film she starred in that was based off her life. But yeah, I wasn't really familiar with her as as an actor either.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, okay, this is a big role for someone who hasn't like led a whole film. But I thought she was great. And also shout out to Felicia Pearl Mpasi as Young Celie. Man, when she would smile and when she would kind of look afraid and look shy, I was, like you said, just all these little things in her face and in her performance. I was like, oh, I'm so endeared to Celie already, more than I am going into the movie. Because I always feel so bad because they're like, she's the ugliest person you've ever seen. And then they come on screen. I'm like, no, what are you talking about?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the point of the story, too. It's like everyone calls Celie ugly. You show is ugly, but she learns that, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And she feels beautiful, so she knows she's beautiful.
Right.
Yeah, I think that ties into the point of the movie for sure. I was going to say to you, like, going to your point of like, oh, man, I want to know if this does the story justice. So the thing about Steven Spielberg's film is that that's based off the novel, right? There was no musical back then. I took this film for what it was. I said, okay, this is inspired by the musical that's inspired by the novel. So when sudden story beats were coming up fast, I was like, okay, that's just like a musical. We got Suge and Harpo together. They fight, they break up. Hell no. This is a musical. We're going fast here. So I wasn't really thrown off by the story beats coming so fast. But I'll say this because I want to talk about two performances here. Coleman Domingo as Mr. See, I thought he was solid. I thought he was pretty good. But I feel like my thing, and this is a personal thing with me, I've seen Coleman Domingo interviews where he seems like so amicable and warm that I just, outside of Zola, I can't, it's hard for me to see him in a bad guy role. Like in Euphoria, he's the guidance counselor trying to get Zendaya's character on the clean and sober path. In Rustin, he plays Rustin. He's terrific in that movie.
Right.
Like, I don't know, as Mr., it was hard for me to see it. Like Danny Glover, again, these are two different films inspired by two different mediums.
Yeah.
He sold Mister, like he sold
Hmm.
the evil Mister. Coleman Domingo,
Yeah.
I was like, all right, that was pretty good, you know. But I gotta say, go ahead.
I had a similar experience where I didn't find myself like liking Mister. Like I was like, oh, I'm charmed by Coleman Domingo in this. It just felt like, again, like, because you have to put in all these songs, and I'm not saying that that's a discredit to the film overall, but
Hmm.
because you have many songs that take up many minutes of the movie, I felt like we didn't get a whole lot of time to just see him as a bad guy. So yeah, I think Danny Glover takes the cake for the more mean and imposing Mister. Where this one, he just kind of seemed like flabbergasted a lot
Mm.
and kind of like, oh no. But I also agree with you that he was good. Like it is good. He's
Yeah, he does seem like Flabbergasted. He doesn't seem as powerful as Mister was. You know,
yeah,
he seems
yeah,
kind of like a schmuck, and it's like,
yes,
I'm like, Mister is a schmuck, but he's a fearsome schmuck.
right,
Like
right,
he seems like it's like the whole time it's like, dude, this guy's pathetic. You know,
right, exactly.
yeah. I don't. Yeah, that was my take. But I want to say in regards to Daniel Brooks, man, did she sell Sophia? Like,
Yes,
she was amazing, dude. And
yeah,
Oprah was amazing in the original film, but I really feel like Daniel Brooks really gave it her all, and she sold it, man. I would even go so far as to say her Sophia is now the best. Um,
wow.
when it came to best supporting actress, predictions and everything, I had her and Julianne Moore from May December neck and neck.
Wow.
But yeah, I really loved her as Sophia in this film.
Yeah, I thought she was great. And everyone's performance, I should say, all of their singing is also really great.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I don't think there was anyone who was not
Hmm.
really good in the singing department. But yeah, Danielle Brooks, she brought a real weight and humor
Hmm.
and like exuberance to Sophia. And I think, I don't know if it was like a conscious choice to not dwell as long on her with Miss Millie and not being able to speak. I feel like that part of it went by really quickly.
Hmm.
And that was the part where, like I said, I was like, wow, we're already to her speaking again. Like, wow, okay. And so I don't know if they were like, yeah, let's, minimize some of that for the other parts of the movie. But
Hmm.
she was great. How did you feel seeing David Allen Greer show up? Because I was shocked. I had no idea he was in this.
I was shocked too because it's always a delight to see David though. Like
Yeah.
I listen. I used to watch In Living Color on DVD with my mom. So
Hmm.
David Allen Greer was always a welcome face that I see in every movie. Every time I see him, I say, "Oh God, DAG is in this. Dag is
Yes.
in
Yeah.
this."
Yeah. Yeah.
So and I like him as Samuel Avery. I feel like he has like the nice kind of like sardonic, holier than thou facial responses to some things.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
I feel like he really fit in this.
Yeah, at first, he's moving around a little bit and singing, and I was like, was that David Allen Greer? And then once he's like talking, I was like, oh yeah. And I was like, man, you got to lead with David Allen Greer being in
Hmm.
this movie. Like he's great. The other person I was really happy to see was Louis Gossett Jr.
Oh yes,
Um,
yeah.
Towards the end, when they're on the porch and Celie gives him the sweetened water.
Right.
I was like, wow, you can really kind of see his age, and it made me pretty emotional seeing it. I was like, wow, a lot of these older guys, unfortunately they're going away,
Hmm.
but I was glad to see him uh, be given this role and then do it really well. Like I
Oh
thought he
yeah,
did it. I thought he was great.
yeah. I mean, just because there's age there, we know that he still got the chops. I mean, this is a
Yeah.
terrific stage actor. You know what I mean? Like, yeah.
Yeah. He, we're going from, I think, 1909. I can't remember the last year, but we're going over, you know, 20 plus years here over the whole story. And the
Hmm.
whole time, old Mister didn't age. It's like, this guy's just been old forever, you know?
He
Like,
just won't die.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, for sure.
How did you feel about Taraji P. Henson as Suge?
Oh, dude, perfect choice, man. If you were to
Yeah.
pick, an actress from this generation to play, a sexy, free spirit role like that, Taraji kills it. I mean, Taraji has, she has the beauty, the sass, the depth. She's perfect as Suge. It kind of even ties into, such a great performance like this. It ties into that viral clip that's going around of her saying that, for so long, and even now, even not being paid enough, as
Right.
as an actress and as an actress of color, it just makes me a little sad too. I was like, this is such a damn good performance. This deserves to be paid with the best of the box office winners.
Yeah, that was pretty upsetting. And like, I think when we think about movie stars, we just assume, everyone is making tons and tons of money and they have all this,
Of course,
power and pull. And I think that that's not everyone that we see on camera. And her being open like that, it's kind of like right before we started recording, you and I were talking about the Cat Williams interview that's going around right now. I think more people should be willing to be open and say like what's really going on. There's
absolutely.
too much. Yeah, there's too much fear of like even Aya Edibiri, she has her Letterboxd account and she was getting flack for actually giving her opinion on movies. And it's like, you don't want to say something because then, oh, well, this person might get offended and then they won't hire you. And it's just sad that
now,
like,
who had the Letterboxd account?
Aya Edibiri.
Okay.
She was in like everything this year. She was in Bottoms, Drama Camp.
Oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah, it's because like I remember hearing something about kind of just like not taking it too left here, but Chris Stuckman, right? He's a very famous movie critic. People know him on YouTube and stuff. He's making his own film, I believe. But he had said at some point that in his reviews. Now, I don't quote me on this, but I think he was saying in so many words, like, I'm not going to be so tough in my reviews because I'm joining the group of directors. Like, I'm joining as a director. And it's a fine line to walk. I get it because, like, you got some directors that just don't care. Like, S. Craig Zahler, I know on his website, he wrote a review for The Revenant and he just trashes it. You know what I'm saying? He just trashes it. Like, he just gives his unfiltered opinion about it, though. And that's just his opinion. But it's a fine line to walk. I understand it. I wish she should give her own opinion and not have to deal with blowback. But you're working in the show business machine, and we know that there are politics in there, unfair politics that go all the way back to the ends of time.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so definitely for Taraji, like it was heartbreaking seeing that part of her interview and then going into The Color Purple. Because I didn't see The Color Purple like, Christmas that first weekend.
Okay.
And so having that kind of image of her in my mind as she's doing this performance that's very big and bombastic. And I didn't realize that she was in her 50s, which, being in your 50s, you're still a young person. But I was like, wow, she's really not held back.
Hey man, black don't crack, baby. You know what it is.
Yeah, that's true. I was shocked. I was completely shocked. I thought to myself as I was sitting in the seat, I was like, okay, Taraji P. Henson, she's got to be maybe 38, 39. And then I looked up her age later and it was like 52, 51. And I was like, man, good for her. It's a great testament to hopefully changes being made that a woman in her 50s is cast as Suge,
Oh yeah, she's always been a beautiful woman. I've had a crush on her since Baby Boy. I don't know if you ever saw that movie with Tyrese.
Baby Boy was a VHS that existed in our rotation. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, dude, she's a vet. She's a veteran, and I mean that in the most complimentary way possible. She's put in the work in her career, and it's just a sad thing to talk about. But for sure.
So how did you feel about the songs? Did you have any that like were your favorite? I know going into it you're not a big musical guy.
Hell no. I really like
Yeah.
that one. That one was pretty good. I had never seen the musical before or listened to the soundtrack for it, so everything
Yeah.
was pretty new to me. But yeah, Hell No was that's a great song. But I thought everything was cool. When the music is solid and it's not like oh hey Maria, I'm okay. I'm okay. I
Yeah.
can deal with it. Like, I don't know if I can sit through Les Mis. That's just I don't know if I can do that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
this is it has some pretty solid music here. What was your favorite?
I don't know the name of it, but it's the song that Celie sings by herself in her shop towards the end.
Okay, that's
It
a
is
good
the
one.
big, like, long, dramatic, more like typical, like the type of song you just described as hating. Um,
Right. I got you.
but I thought it was great, and we're spending a lot of time just with her. I'm not opposed
I
to.
think it's I'm Here or something like that.
Yes, yeah, yeah. I thought it was really, really great, and I
Nice.
connected with it very emotionally, and it kind of felt like the pause that I was like waiting for the whole time because I just felt like we were going,
Hmm.
and so yeah, I think that was probably my favorite, and then I do like the song that Suge sings when she first comes to the what did they call it, a juke
A juke joint.
store, juke joint, yeah, the juke joint.
Yeah.
I do like that song when she's coming in on the boat, but yeah, overall I thought the music was good. I think I would need to listen to the soundtrack a little bit more to kind of get the different songs in my head because like you mentioned Hell No,
Hmm.
that one had like a good hook to it where I feel like some of the other songs didn't, so they didn't quite like stick in my mind as much.
That's fair. Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying there. Yeah, Hell No just had like a great flow to it. Like, it just came at the
Mm-hmm.
right moment, and it came with like a iconic moment. Like, hey, you told Harpo to beat me.
Yes.
Sealy.
Yes.
I love how Sealy, like, just in the story itself, just looks so innocent. Like, well, isn't that what guys do? I mean, I I
Right.
thought that was what she's
Right.
supposed to do.
Yeah, it is sad just watching her, cower under Mister, where Sophia she says she has the same story. She had to beat off her brothers and cousins and uncles, and she's
Hmm.
had to like fight her whole life. Where Celie has had the same thing, and it caused one woman to be tough and stand up for herself, and it caused the other woman to go inside of herself, and
Hmm.
be fearful. So it was sad to see when she does start to stand up for herself. It's like, man, I wish that this had been the case all along for her. How did you feel about Halle Bailey as the young Nettie?
I thought Haley was pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
I so going off like the Little Mermaid, right? Which I thought she did a solid
Yeah.
job as Ariel.
Yeah.
I thought she was cool. I thought she was cool as a young Nettie. She had the nice kind of spunk to it. We don't spend a lot of time with them, but for that
Right.
segment for what it is, I thought it was fine.
Yeah. I thought The Little Mermaid overall wasn't
Yeah,
great.
I didn't like the movie. I thought she was fine
Yeah.
in it.
Yeah, she was good, and great pipes, obviously.
Oh yeah,
I
oh
think
yeah.
that her version of some of the songs is like better than the original, but we don't, I mean, obviously because of the story, but we don't get a ton of time with her. I also really liked the reception on the beach when they get to Africa. I was like, this is cool because yes, it's like still a coordinated dance number, but you're right there on the beach. There's not like a big there's not like columns to like swing around or
Right,
like,
right.
things to like jump over
Hmm.
in the kind of traditional Broadway musical dancing. And
Hmm.
so that also kind of felt like a nice little break from the style of the rest of the movie. So you said that The Color Purple, the
Hmm.
85 is one of your favorites.
Absolutely.
yeah, if you had to compare these two, are they going to be kind of side by side in your mind? Are they going to be like how does this one stack up against the original for you?
Oh, I'll quote Miss Sophia. Hell no. You know, listen. You got to understand something. The 1985 film is just a complete classic in my mind. It's a film that
Yeah.
whenever it's on TV, if it's on like Freevee or something, I'll pause what I'm doing to watch it for a minute. You know what I mean? It's that
Yeah.
kind of film.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. I don't think there is like a real comparison because like one's a musical, one is a straight adaptation of the novel. But from like what I'm saying here is that it's not. They can both exist at the same time. But if you're telling
Yeah.
me if one is comparable to the other, I don't know if I can actually say that. I think
Okay.
one exists on its own and is very good. So like if you're a musical
Yeah.
type person, if you've never seen The Color Purple, you might align more with the 2023 film than the 1985 film if you've never
Right.
seen it. You know, because
Right.
I'll give you a story. So my wife, she doesn't like trauma films.
Yeah.
So The Color Purple's not for her. She's never seen it.
Yeah.
While I was watching the 2023 film, you know, I had a screener because it was FYC season. You know, she was kind
Yeah.
of flowing in and out, like, oh, okay, Haley Berry's here. Oh, Fantasia's here.
Yeah.
You know, she was a bit more receptive to watching the movie, rather it being a straight adaptation, because she just doesn't like, you know, dark films like The Color
Yeah.
Purple. So
Yeah.
for her, I would suggest the musical because everything's a little bit more light and happy amongst the dark. Where
Yeah.
in 1985, that's a brutal movie, dude. It's beautiful in many ways, like you know, like Celie finding herself, Whoopi Goldberg's terrific performance as Celie.
Yeah.
But there's some brutal moments. Mister is really Mister. You know,
Yeah.
it's really that brutal time in that movie. I give Steven Spielberg his credit for directing an authentic black movie. Like
Yeah.
if I never saw it directed by Steven Spielberg at the end of that film, I would have thought somebody, you know, I would have thought somebody that knew authentically about the black experience made that movie.
Mm.
That's how damn
Yeah.
good it is to me.
Yeah.
I look at it as a Spielberg film, of course, but you know what I'm saying is like it's just so unlike his other, you know, Welcome to Jurassic Park type of movies that I'm like, oh man, this is brutal. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Yeah,
Yeah.
man, nah, there's no comparison in my mind.
I appreciate that we have The Color Purple, the novel,
Mm-hmm.
Spielberg, the stage show, and now the film version of the stage show. It's great that possibly in 20, 30 years, we'll get a new Color Purple. Maybe it'll be a dramatic remake of the novel or whatever. But it's heartening to see The Color Purple not just being a one-off either book or movie. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's now become something that has life in multiple ways. And so like you were saying, if you're not interested in a really, really heavy movie,
Right.
this version really breaks up the heaviness. And that's, I think, why I had such a different experience with this one than the 85 version is,
Mm.
yes, there are funny moments throughout the movie, but for the most part, you're sitting in drama for long periods of time.
Yeah.
In this movie, you break out into song every once in a while, and it
Right.
kind of, jerks you out of that, like, wow, this is heavy
Everything is horrible,
mindset.
but I'm singing. Like
Right, exactly. And so, but if you know somebody who isn't into movies, they can read the book. If you know someone who loves the theater, well, now there's a stage show, and once there's a stage show, that can be performed. Someone's already figured out how to tell the story on stage. Now that book can be performed all over the country and all over the world for years to come.
Mm-hmm.
So you think about like A Star Is Born, which we have how
Oh
many
yeah.
versions of that
Oh, we
by
got
now?
so many versions of that story, man.
Yeah. And so it's just great. It's great to see a story about Black people that isn't just a one-off.
Absolutely. Yeah, I clearly agree with your point there. Like, it is great that we got this great story. And, to my credit, I haven't read the novel yet. It's something I plan to do. It's on my bucket list.
Yeah.
I actually have the novel. I just haven't taken time to read it yet. Because I
Yeah.
heard the novel really goes in depth with character development and there's more things
Yeah. It's
involved
great.
in the book. You've read it?
Yeah. So I read
Okay.
probably the last time I read it, I was probably like 12 or 13. I had
Mm-hmm.
a lot of older brothers. And so I had access to books and movies and music that were probably maybe beyond what I was supposed to be doing. But I remember one of my brothers had a copy of The Color Purple in his top drawer. And next to it, he had a copy of Beloved. I don't know if you've seen Beloved or read that, but
Beloved, Toni Morrison. Yeah, I know of it.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so I read those. I would take it out of his drawer and read it like during the day when he wasn't around, and then
Mm-hmm.
put it back in his drawer. It's such a weird. I think some young kids are like sneaking Playboys. I was sneaking The Color Purple and Beloved.
Oh, dude. Let me tell you something, man. I credit my mother with getting me into Stephen King, like the
Yeah.
novelist Stephen King. She had a novel. She had the novel Gerald's Game in her bookcase, and I
Yeah.
didn't know what it was about. I just saw some handcuffs on it. So I
Mm-hmm.
would bring a book with me to school, and this is in middle school, and I used to just read, right. And then I realized this is a novel where the protagonist is handcuffed to a bed naked the whole story and trying to
Yeah.
escape. And then one
Yeah.
lady walked up to me and said, "Oh, what are you reading there, Anthony?" I said, Gerald's Game by Stephen King. Oh, Stephen King, spooky. All right. Well, let me know when your assignment's done. Like she doesn't
Yeah.
even know what the book is about, and I'm just reading this, like feeling like I'm in trouble. Like, okay,
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Hey, shout out to people older than us. Providing us with good media.
yeah, absolutely.
Did you have any other thoughts?
Not really. I believe I enjoyed this, and I really feel like it blew me away in some ways. I went in
Yeah.
here with low expectations because I was like, you can't turn a raw story like this into a musical, man. But
Right.
it actually threw me back, and the direction was great, the acting was on point. I knew the acting was going to be good, but I like the way it was made. It made me smile in the end. I was like, you know what, that's pretty good. I kind of feel like this is what people feel like when they're watching Gone with the Wind, and everyone's smiling, even the slaves are smiling and singing, and it's like, I know this time was not that happy. Like,
Right. Right. It definitely feels like they made it a little less less depressing, I guess, than
mhm.
the other versions. Did you jump when Whoopi was there delivering the baby?
I smiled. I was like, oh
Yeah.
man, Whoopi's here. All right, who else is going
Yeah.
to show up? Am I going to see Danny Glover as like a driver or something? But that was all we got. I was like, okay, all right, well, I'll take it.
Right. Yeah, I did the same thing. I thought, "Oh, cool. They're going to have different people be in this and maybe Danny Glover will be old Mister or so, I mean that would probably be too distracting."
Right.
But yeah, I thought that was pretty great. I think the only thing left that I have is just the idea of forgiveness. I saw a lot of people, and I think rightfully so, kind of think that the ending where Celie forgives Mister and they're just kind of all eating at the same table, and she says like, "Oh, let's be friends" when he comes to her pants
Friend
store.
friend zoned him.
Right. Yeah.
I was like, yeah, that's the most you could give him. Friend zone him.
Yes, absolutely. So yeah, I don't know. I don't really have a problem with it. Like I don't think that the movie excuses Mister's actions. I think that it just gives him a chance to grow.
Let me tell you something. Something I didn't catch on to with the original film, and I have seen it so many times, is that I
Yeah.
had always felt like when she always puts the hand up, like everything you just done to me, I just did to you.
Yes. Yeah.
Everything around you is gonna
Yeah.
fall until you do right by me. Like I had
Yeah.
always thought as a kid, I was like, that's so weak. Why don't you just like smash a plate over his head, whoop his ass? Like what's a hand gonna do?
Yeah.
But it wasn't until I got older that I was like, oh, she cursed him. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
that's something in the film that I had always missed on the many times that I watched it. And I like how in this one it kind of made it a little bit more explicit. Like, oh, Celie cursed him. I get it
Yes.
now. You know,
Yeah.
so with him kind of like, you know, like coming back to her, you know, making it safe for her sister to return back to the States and
Yeah.
everything like that. I didn't have a problem with it either, because it was finally this guy who was a complete asshole kind of realizing, okay, I've put myself in this mess. Let me do right by her. Let me do right in
Yeah.
general.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think Celie, like you said, towards the end, we're seeing her happy. She gets the store. She's making pants. I think that Celie choosing to forgive
Hmm.
puts the power in her hands again. She
For
gets to
sure.
choose how she's going to live, and she gets to choose how she's going to treat him in spite of how he treated her. And yeah, but I mean, I think it's a lot to ask of an audience, you know, to watch Mr. be horrible, like just all of
Hmm.
the horrible things that he does throughout the film, and then in the last moment be like, yeah, everything's fine and everyone's happy and he's wearing shiny pants. I think it is a lot to ask of an audience, but
Hmm.
for me, I think it's good that Celie gets to make that choice for herself.
The shiny pants part kind of got a little chuckle out of me. I was like, that's funny. Like, put him in shiny pants. That's funny. He says, I don't care. I just buy it. She's like, are you
Yeah.
sure? He says, yeah, I'll buy
Yeah.
it. I was like, okay, fine. Yeah, I
He looked like
believe.
Aquaman.
Right. Right. That's funny. You know, I look at it as, you know, you don't want to hang on to that anger your whole life. You don't want to hang on to that
Yeah.
resentment your whole life. Even though you have every right in your being to hate somebody or not forgive them. Forgiving them just puts a weight off your shoulders. For the longest time, I didn't believe that until I was actually put in a position to do that, and it
Yeah.
does put a weight off your shoulders. Like, look, I
Yeah,
forgive you.
definitely. Definitely. That person, you know, they can't control how you feel. You get
For
to
sure.
choose how you feel. So, yeah. Anthony, this was cool.
Absolutely.
Where can people find you on the internet?
Oh, absolutely. They can find me on Twitter and Instagram at BlakCinephile. It's you know, black without the C and then cinephile all together. You know, I post my reviews on 8bitwaffles.com. And again, you know, I got the Double Feature Versus podcast on Spotify, Apple, and yeah, just check us out.
Yeah, definitely. Anthony's a great writer, very insightful, and it's pretty funny when he gets mad at Brad. So if you enjoyed any this episode, definitely check him out. Well, Anthony, again, thank you for taking your time out on a bad weather Saturday morning to join me to talk about this. I appreciate it.
Hey, man, I wanted to come on Movie Friends. I told you we was going to make it happen.
Yes, yeah. Any new movie coming out that you want to talk about, let me know.
We'll do. We'll do.
All right. Well, thank you very much for listening. Be sure to give us a subscribe, maybe a rating. Who knows? That would be nice, right? You can always check us out at our home on the web, moviefriendspodcast.com. Send us an email, moviefriendspodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you, especially what you think about The Color Purple. Until next time, thank you very much for listening. Have a good one.
Movie Friends is produced by Seth Vargas and Michelle Rubenstein. Music by Anthony Pecora. If you like the show, please subscribe and give us a rating. It really helps us find new friends. Thanks!